I'm going to go and take my seat here. So I'm going to have our esteemed panel introduce themselves. And I'd love to, tell us your name, the company you work for, what you do there. And then something, as is tradition that we do at LinkedIn, something not on your LinkedIn profile. All right, over to you, Anthony. So your name, where you work, what you do there, and again, something not on your LinkedIn profile.
I'll have to think about that one. So Anthony Robbins, not to be confused with Tony Robbins. And there are a whole bunch of very real stories about that. I have paid in total $250,000 to bring him in and speak to my sales organizations on a couple of different occasions. Never to do that again, because I spent a couple of years trying to disassociate myself, because we're not related. But I run the global defense business for AT&T. That's what I do today. I joined AT&T, which is just an amazing company, but I joined the company 90 days ago after having spent a career working for Silicon Valley companies, Silicon Graphics, Sun Microsystems, Brocade, and Oracle, where I was always responsible for bringing California Bay Area companies to the federal marketplace. That's what I've done for my whole career. So a couple of things that's not known on my LinkedIn profile. Well, I have 5 kids, but I feed 6. One of my sons is 6'4", 323 pounds, and he plays football at Florida State University. So it's there you go.
Oh,
go Noles. It's actually how I met Lindsay Boggs last year. She went to Florida State, but that will be something that's likely not on my LinkedIn profile. I have also been using LinkedIn since May 16th of 2006. I found that out today. And I do have a social selling index score, in case anybody cares. As of Friday night, it was 95. Thank you. And I share that. It's very important. I share that not because anybody in this room would give a damn, but it's really it relates to my belief system, and that is that the profession of selling has profoundly changed, and for us, we as leaders are leading change and transformation, and for us to do that, we have to know how the tool works or how this works, and I've been very focused on that for what seems like a decade now. So,
well, that's I'm ashamed to say 10 points higher than mine, and I lead the team that's selling to all of you. So
I'd be happy to help.
So Anthony, same question to you. Your social selling journey, what was the catalyst that kicked that off?
Well, for me, as I said earlier, I've led sales organizations that have had responsibility for the U.S. and kind of global environments. And so when I became one of the first 5.9 people to join LinkedIn, I found that out today. I did it like many of you all do, to keep in touch with the people that I had met over geography. And so I started with your online resume and your online Rolodex, and then I began morphing into just learning a lot about the fact that our customers' journey has changed. And if we don't change to meet them kind of where they're at, then we're doing 2 things. We're missing opportunities, but we're doing a disservice to the profession that we were all in sales and marketing.
Absolutely. And so what we want to do today is try to make this panel interesting for you, give you some ideas about some uses for social selling, how it's been rolled out in their organization. Fantastic. So Anthony, over to you. You've been selling for a long time, and you've been experienced with social selling for quite a few years now. So what are some of the social selling tactics that has made you successful with your organization?
Well, I focus a lot less on just the tactics of social selling, but on the fact that our profession is undergoing the most dramatic change that probably any of us have actually been a part of. And so for me, it's all about trying to meet the customers where they acquire information. And I'll share a couple of statistics, and most of them will be pretty accurate. But CEB and Forrester and Gartner and the like will suggest that as much as 60 and 65 and 68% of the information that customers get today about products, technologies, companies, or services, they'll actually gather on their own initiative, or it'll be influenced largely online, right? And so your customers are getting a lot of information, and there's, I'll just, with all due respect to this great profession of selling, right? But who wants to buy a new car? And the first thing you want to buy a new car, the first thing you do is not go call your local sales rep, right? You just don't. Like the last person you want to talk to on earth, when you buy a car is the salesperson. Now, of course, we're much better than that. But it's important to acknowledge. And I have a 12-year-old son, and we were at Dick's Sporting Goods store, and we were looking at a sneaker, and he said, "Dad, I like this." And I didn't like the price. So I said, "Well, I don't like it." And he said, and I told him all the things that were wrong with it. And he goes, "Well, how about if I go online and read the reviews, and if the reviews are good, can we come back and buy it?" And so there's two different examples of the fact that the way our customers are acquiring information has changed. And if we don't change how we provide them information at the time in which they're looking for information, which includes a lot of things like digitally surrounding the customers, social listening, but active engagement where sales reps are providing insight. I don't believe in the model where marketing provides the insight engine and salespeople, push the insights that are provided. I actually believe that salespeople have to craft insights based on their own experience, because I think what customers want is they want to do business with tomorrow with people and sales reps that add value. And they'll actually do business more quickly if they discover that you are one that adds value. So I think, so for me, it's less about kind of social selling. It's more about the profession of sales, and it's acknowledging that customers are acquiring information differently, and we have to figure out how to retool ourselves to do that. And then the final piece would be for me is, at this stage of my career, I'm not looking to buy my next BMW. I'm not sure if anybody sells those in here. I think they're a little bit too expensive and overrated and cost too much to maintain. But besides that, they're very good cars. But my view is I really want to add value to the mission of my customers. Like, I am passionately inspired by doing that. And so I have found myself connected to my customer's mission, and I'm always seeking out the value I might bring to them as a salesperson or as a sales leader of a team. And so we constantly push, how can we add value to our customers? And that is not selling, right? Because, the last sales rep that told me he sold me something, I wanted to punch him in the face, because he didn't sell me anything, I bought something. And if somebody tries to call you at home at 7 o'clock, you're angry because they're trying to sell you something. And so I think there's some subtle things that are going on in our profession that we have to acknowledge as leaders and as salespeople. And I think if we adjust there, I think there's something very special. And frankly, I think we owe our profession changing at a more rapid rate, because I think we'll serve customers much better.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. Anthony, I know in working in the Global Defense Fund, you may not have all those millennials coming out working for you that when you started rolling out social selling. So how have you been able to get this adopted within your organization?
I'm trying to interpret exactly what you just implied there. Let me take a moment. For me, the whole win is leading kind of organizational change. And I will say in my prior job, before I joined, there was an organization of about, say, 300 people. And I had a couple of weeks off between jobs, and I went on everybody's LinkedIn profile that I could find. I sent every one of them, this is 5 years ago, a LinkedIn message, right? And then I kind of waited to see how they came back with me, with information, or how they responded. I checked out the quality of their profile, and then it was interesting to note how many didn't have profiles at all. And that was kind of 5 years ago, of course, before there's 450 people on LinkedIn today. So it's changed a lot even over the last 5 years. But I focused a lot on leading organizational change. And my first year I said, well, this is coming. And I believed that the way that you encourage social selling and marketing was that you had to encourage people to do it. You couldn't direct them to do that. I don't believe that anymore. Happy to talk to any of you offline on that. But so I started a social media advisory committee, and we called it SMAC, and And so we started that committee 5 years ago, and I said, okay, who are the big users? And so we asked them, what are you doing and how can we help? What they told us were two things. They needed content and training, and we focused on content and training. We brought Lindsay Boggs in, and did webinars, and so we kind of encouraged this path. And then, if you want to pull the thread at any kind of change or transformation working in the organization, I always believe it's the first line managers. So you find out, so what are they doing? And if they're not doing it, ain't going to happen in the organization. So then I took those folks aside in an offsite, and we spent time, we directed the use of Twitter and LinkedIn at a much broader scale. And then the next year we brought in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and that was a program that has found itself beginning to kind of roll out globally. And we had connected the Altify target account selling program, and we used Salesforce, and we used LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and we began discussing Sales for Life on training. So we kind of put that whole thing together organizationally. When I look back on that, I think there was some really good work. If I had a chance to do it again, I would do it in 20% less time. And I think it's really important that we get at, I don't think it's as important to train to the tool as I think it's as important to train to the change that's occurring in the marketplace. And I think if you train to that, you get the tools. The tools are easy to use. When we rolled out LinkedIn Sales Navigator to 200 people, we did spend 60 minutes preparing and 60 minutes for a webinar, and they were off and running on a Monday, literally. So it's not hard. But getting at the organizational dynamics where you can get change and transformation is where the big win is. And I think that's where big change and big opportunities come.
Absolutely. Thanks. So do you have any just other words of advice for anyone in the room that is trying to dip their toes into social selling and Sales Navigator? Anthony, anything?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. The whole ROI thing drives me crazy, because it's like, who cares? Who cares about that? Because, in a company I worked at recently, they were trying to discover the ROI for marketing or social selling. I said, let's just make it easy. Quit having that conversation and stop allowing all of our employees to buy alcohol, and you can fund it. You know what I mean? It just drives me nuts. So I think you got to get off the. I mean, we spent more money on pizza in the last company. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is $800. I mean, who cares? It's just crazy, right? It is. I switched jobs. I bought the damn thing myself with my own money. It just drives me nuts. So to me, it's like major in the majors, don't major in the minors. You guys, right? You with me on that? So my good friend who's in the front row here, Jill Rowley, has anybody heard her name? She is amazing. I remember when I saw her, she's like a YouTube sensation. I'm in her fan club now. But Jill always used to say, your network is your net worth, right? And which is kind of to your point. So it's really important to be networking. I recently had an experience where I introduced a vice chairman, you have to get this, of a multi-billion-dollar company, has nothing to do with my world. A vice chairman of a multi-billion-dollar company to a New York Times best-selling author. He happened to be my friend. I had never met this gentleman. And they've begun a relationship that may be mutually beneficial. I did it all in LinkedIn. It was amazing, for me, it was like a little bit of inspiration. I wasn't trying to sell either one of those people anything, but I was trying to help both of them in where I thought that they could help the world that they're living in or the environments that they serve. So I just have a very different position. It's like, you don't focus on the return on investment. You focus on the profound change that's happening in the profession that we are all in. And if we want to be stewards of this profession that we are in, we have to be experts at leading change and transformation. And I think to the extent that we do that, we will serve ourselves as leaders, the companies that we work for, the sales reps for whom we have responsibility for, growing, nurturing, and the like, mentoring, and ultimately we'll do a much better job serving the customers that we are attempting to serve. And so that has been my focus of late. So
There we go.
Joe Zimmering, I have the highest social selling index at Axiom, so I won that competition.
All right.
Now you have to tell them what it is.
Yeah, I was not a 95. Question actually, because I know Brian's take on this for Jill and Anthony. In terms of cold outreaching to contacts on LinkedIn, what do you advise and suggest to your teams? There's a managing director at Axiom who's actually, I've heard her say, be promiscuous on LinkedIn, just reach out to everyone. What's your view on that? Sometimes people say right on their LinkedIn profiles, I don't accept invitations from people I don't know. What would be your guidance?
I have an opinion. I think it's crazy. I think generally those people are uninformed, and I would just say think about it from your own perspective. It's today, I always kind of say if you think about the telephone call you get at home at 7 o'clock when you're with your kids or you're eating dinner or you're trying to get away from work, you just get angry and offended, And I think I used to ask our sellers how many think they have an expertise in cold calling, and all of these macho people would raise their hand, and I'd say, well, congratulations for having a skill that's no longer desirable in the marketplace, because that's what it is. But there is magic in connecting in advance. So I think you have to connect in advance. So whoever is the customer that you're interested in, they have to see you, promoting insights. You have to know who they're connected to and how they might do warm introductions. The warm introductions, you want to ask them for them at the right time, when the people that you're trying to influence believe there's something of value from who you are. And so I do think you have to be patient. Too many people I've identified the CIO, and he has money, and I want to go meet them, and I'm going to reach out and send them a LinkedIn message and tell them I can do something special for them. That's almost as ineffective as cold calling itself, right? But I think if we take time to honor the profession that we are in, and we try to understand where the customer is at, and understand what value that we might bring to them, and if we've taken the time to surround that customer or influence that customer or get warm introductions, we will find ourselves winning in the long term. And so I would advise patience with respect to that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Again, let's thank Jill from CDW, Anthony from AT&T, and Brian from Axiom.